The Janitor's Secret. Mr. Harris had worked at the high school for nearly 20 years. To the students, he was invisible, until they wanted a laugh. They joked about his patched-up shoes, whispered about the smell of bleach that seemed to follow him, and called him Mr. Nobody. Teachers never corrected them, they just looked away. At lunch, kids would throw trash on the floor just to watch him clean it up. "Careful, Mr. Nobody, you missed a spot," they'd sneer. Harris never argued. He just bent down, his tired hands steady, and kept working. But when the hallways were empty and the school silent, he sometimes lingered at the grand piano in the auditorium. His fingers would hover, trembling, before he quickly pulled them back. Nobody knew that long ago, before life crushed him, those same hands once touched concert stages instead of mop handles. One afternoon, a group of students snuck into the auditorium and caught him sitting at the piano. He wasn't playing, just staring. "Hey, Mr. Nobody," one shouted. "You gonna play us a song, or just polish the keys like you do the floors?" Laughter echoed in the room. Harris flushed and stood quickly, mumbling something about work. He hurried out, leaving behind only the faint smell of soap. The students laughed harder. To them, the idea of a janitor making music was absurd. They never imagined that he was hiding something greater than they could comprehend. Winter came, and the school prepared for its annual talent show. Posters lined the walls. Show your skills, music, dance, comedy, all welcome. Students buzzed with excitement, practicing routines in the hallways. Harris swept around them, quietly ignored. That evening, after the building emptied, Harris wandered back into the auditorium. He sat at the piano, hands trembling, and finally let his fingers touch the keys. A melody rose, gentle, haunting, powerful. His eyes closed, and for a few minutes he wasn't Mr. Nobody. He was himself again. He didn't know a student had stayed late. Sarah, shy and unnoticed like him, had slipped back inside for her own practice. She froze at the doorway listening. The janitor, the man everyone mocked, was playing like a master. Sarah approached him slowly, almost afraid to break the spell. "Mr. Harris, that was beautiful," she whispered. He startled, slamming the lid shut. "You shouldn't be here," he muttered. His voice was rough, defensive. "But why don't you sign up for the talent show?" she asked. Harris shook his head. "No one wants to see a janitor up there. They'd laugh me off the stage." Sarah frowned. "They laugh at you anyway. But if they heard you play, they wouldn't laugh. They'd listen." For the first time in years, Harris felt a flicker of hope. The night of the talent show arrived. The auditorium was packed, students, parents, teachers. Performances rolled one after another. Clumsy stand-up comedy, flashy dance routines, loud rock covers. Backstage, Sarah stood with Harris. He wore his usual uniform, clutching a worn music sheet. His hands shook so badly he almost dropped it. "You don't have to do this," Sarah said gently. "Yes, I do," Harris replied. His voice was quiet but steady. "Not for them, for me." When the announcer called his name, the room erupted in confused whispers. "The janitor, he's performing." Harris walked onto the stage, the spotlight blinding. For a moment, he nearly turned back. Then he saw Sarah in the wings, nodding. He sat at the piano. Silence spread across the room. Some students giggled, waiting for him to embarrass himself. Then his fingers touched the keys. The first notes silenced the whispers. A flood of music filled the hall, rich, emotional, breathtaking. Harris poured years of silence, humiliation, and hidden talent into every chord. His rough hands moved with impossible grace. The audience froze, unable to believe what they were hearing. The janitor, the man they mocked daily, was playing like a concert pianist. By the time he reached the final crescendo, half the room was in tears. The last note hung in the air like a prayer. For a moment, there was nothing but stunned silence. Then, thunderous applause erupted. Students who once called him Mr. Nobody jumped to their feet, cheering, screaming his name. The principal, red-faced, wiped his eyes. Parents clapped until their hands ached. Sarah stood in the wings, smiling with pride. Harris bowed his head, unable to hold back tears. He had carried his secret for so long, buried beneath mops and bleach. Now it was out, his dignity, his gift, his truth. The next day, nobody called him Mr. Nobody. Students greeted him with respect. Teachers stopped pretending he was invisible. To everyone, he was Mr. Harris, the man who reminded them that greatness can hide in the most overlooked places. But Harris didn't need their praise. He had already won the moment he sat at that piano. He had proven to them and to himself that worth isn't measured by uniforms or jobs, but by the fire we keep alive inside us. Never judge people by their roles or appearances. Behind the mop, the uniform, the silence, there may be a brilliance you can't imagine. If this story touched you, subscribe for more tales where dignity rises above cruelty.